Welcome to the Build It Better podcast, powered by FrameCAD. I'm your host, Robert Johnson, and today we have David Del Monte with Orlando Steel Framing. Thanks for joining us today, David.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you very much for inviting us.
Yeah, now you are in that beautiful state of Florida that has yet another hurricane headed that way that we hope turns and goes off some other way. But how long have you lived in Florida? Is this a normal occurrence for you?
Well, Robert, I have been living in Florida only for the past 4 years. And already in these past 4 years, I had 4 hurricanes. So yes, it's a natural occurrence here. You know, it's just as casual as a new day. So
Yeah.
we're ready for it.
Yeah, exactly. Out here, it's the heat, and we just have to be ready for that. But so awesome. So take a minute and tell us a little bit about yourself, about Orlando Steel Framing, your time with them, and kind of get us up to today.
All right. So I've been working with light gauge steel framing and with the FrameCAD brand for more than 12 years. And I've been working in different countries. So I started back in Venezuela, my original country. I started exporting light gauge steel metal to different islands and different parts of South America and Central America. And I started making connections also in the United States. Recently, 4 years ago, I decided to come back to America, and exactly to Orlando, and I started, the company here. So it's been interesting 4 years because in these last 4 years I have seen an exponential growth of the industry here in Florida. When I came back 4 years ago, nobody knew mostly about cold form or the FrameCAD machines or the light gauge. And nowadays, it's a common thing to find people just looking for you, looking for the company, looking for the steel. It's incredible. It's been a very successful journey. This company, Orlando Steel Framing, only has 2 years. And in this past 2 years, we already have built big projects like assisted living facility, 85,000 square foot. And that was pretty impressive because that was our first project, and we actually did it in 13 weeks. And the people
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Incredible.
Yeah, it's we say it often on the podcast here, but it is when customers, when your developers and owners and general contractors that you deal with on a daily basis actually experience it and see it the first time, it's an aha moment for them. It's a game changing. I have yet to have a developer tell me, "Oh, this didn't work out good. I never want to do this again." It's been quite the opposite. It's been, hey, we're going to do this from now on. I don't want to build any other way. Let's continue to build on these efficiencies and see what happens. So you mentioned that you were doing it in other countries. Were you doing roll forming or just more traditional metal stud framing in those other countries?
Well, that's funny because it goes with what you were saying. So I've been building for more than 20 years already. And back in my country, it was whole concrete and hot rolled steel. And we found the same challenges and difficulties as anybody else. So when 2008 happened, and it happened almost all around the world, we also had our recession. And one of the things that I started thinking at that time and with my partners at that time is, how can we do this better? And after a year or two of research is when we found, cold form steel, the several industry that was behind it, companies and everything, and we got into it. And once we started experiencing about it, I forgot about construction any other way. I never go back. It's like, no way. And I changed from being a builder to being a manufacturer. And it's been a very impressive change. It has changed my life completely. The last 12 years, I've devoted myself to be a better engineer. I'm a structural engineer per se. And I have found this, pretty incredible. And it's a new adventure as an engineer. It's something amazing, inspiring, all that you can do. Having a mechanical getting to know the machines, getting to know everything, what you can manufacture or not. And it has helped me meet a lot of impressive people, awesome people, fantastic people that I have met through these years in this industry. And I've been privileged in seeing how this grew. And it grew, and it's incredible because if you come to South America or Central America, this construction is rarely seen. But when the people start seeing it, it's like, wow, what is this? Where you brought this? You brought it from NASA or something like that. Everybody says,
No, that is no joke.
yeah,
You mentioned the 4 year mark earlier, and I think just from what I see on a daily basis and have dealt with for the last 2 or 3 years, the West Coast is about 3 to 4 years behind the East Coast. This is much more prevalent out on the East Coast, out where you're at, than it is out here on the West Coast where I am. I mean, there's people out here that still, I mean, we just 2 years ago, the first load-bearing 4-story, a prefabricated cold-form steel building hit Phoenix, the seventh largest city in the country, and it was the first one. Inspectors had never seen it. It was just,
yeah,
you've seen this, you've already experienced this,
yeah.
and it's just amazing that we're so far behind, which is why I'm banging the drum as hard as I can, and using folks like yourself that were early adopters, and have made a go of it. Now, how many roll forming systems do you have right now? I saw what you had sent earlier, 6 or 7?
7. So we have 7
7.
machines at the moment, yeah.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
to tell you the truth, probably we're going to expand it. And
Seriously.
it's the amount of projects that are coming our way is incredible. So right now we have a pipeline more than 15 buildings to build. So
Oh, that's amazing.
that's incredible. I tell you, Central Florida is going to be booming with steel frame. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, again, it's a perfect building component for your geographic area. I mean, like we've mentioned hurricanes already, with the hurricanes, with, the salt. I mean, you get into all of the different things. It's just a perfect building component, non-combustible. We talk about this every day, so I'll bore you if I go into it again. But so yeah, and we'll get into this. We'll get into some of this other a little bit. But so you have 7 systems, and I'm just curious for those people that are just getting into the business and are just finding roll forming or deciding that a design-led methodology is the way to go. And they're trying to just squeeze together and get one system or 2 system and don't know what they should do. Should I get a multi-profile? Should I do all of this? Do you use your systems, each individual system, for something different or something specific?
Well, that's a pretty good question. And, one of the things that we want to have in these many systems was versatility. Because when you start this business, one of the things that, you have to learn is where is your market and what are you going to do with that system? At the stage that we are now, so basically we have machines to do ceiling panels. We have machines to do load-bearing panels. We have machines to do floor joists. We have machines to do a tremendous amount of stuff because we have entered into the business of developing and doing the full building completely. So when we engage with our customers, the minimum thing that we're gonna deliver to them is a full shell, completely finished on the outside, completely enclosed, dry-in building. And normally we also are developers, so we're developing our own projects. And on those projects we're doing everything, even the stairs, the ceilings, details on the outside, everything. We're not leaving anything behind. And our goal and what we do is 100% steel. We don't use any other material. The only other material that we use is a concrete slab per se, no more. Everything else has to be steel.
Now, just cold rolled steel, or are you still using some structural steel, some hot roll?
No, cold form steel. We're even doing metal buildings with cold form steel. We're doing, well, I'm proud to say, but I participated in the design of the first five-story building here in Orlando, done in cold form. Basically, I did it all myself. And also, I've been making buildings three-story, four-story building, and it's just an awesome system. You know, when people start noticing the speed that you bring into it, it's incredible.
Yeah, well, and I, I get into these debates often with the big timber guys. It's, oh, you're never going to convince me that your system's faster than wood. And they just simply don't know what they're talking about. When you drive by a multifamily project and they're just surrounded by stacks of lumber that's getting rained on, it's getting moved around multiple times, it's getting stolen, and you tell me that that's going to be faster than while you're doing all your dirt work, while you're pouring your slabs, we're framing your building,
Yeah.
and then we just show up with it just in time delivery. We're not filling up your site with components. We show up, they get installed, and off we go. It is, and I say this hesitantly because I don't want to call anybody stupid, but it's a no-brainer.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why I have no hair. I've been pulling my hair out trying to
Yeah.
get people to understand.
Yeah.
And why do you think that is, David? Why do you think it's such a pain to adopt?
Well, I always thought to myself and always spoke with my friends and relatives that the construction industry is like a dinosaur. It's very hard to evolve, very hard to move forward. It is very constrained already with the products and markets that are in it. And try to change that is such a big issue. It's like people change their phones every year, or they change their cars every 2, 3 years, and nobody questions that. But try to change the timbering wood, or try to change a tool, something. It's like, no, it's impossible. This has been working forever, and say, hey, you've been living in the cave forever, while the rest of the world is changing.
And that's very true. Great point.
Yeah.
It is much more prevalent in the rest of the world than it is here.
Yeah, and one of the things that caught the attention of one of our customers is he was doing this big development in wood, right? It's a whole three-story wood buildings for rent. It's around 336 buildings. They were having waste of 35% of all their lumber was going to waste. So when we got talking to it, and we took them to one of our developments, and you know how much our waste is here? It's less than 5%. Less than 5%. So you're throwing away thousands of dollars in money every day just in waste.
Yeah, I always explain to people that when and you can attest to this, when we do and have done 3-4 story buildings, we don't even need a dumpster on site for the first couple of months. I mean, it's just forget it. We don't have any waste. It's all been done off site. And whatever waste we had was the punches and holes, because every stud is cut exactly, and every piece of track is cut exactly. So, yeah, great points. Again, we're gonna continue to turn the wheel. It's going to happen. More and more people are going to come on board. I just hate the fact that those that are going to come in late are going to be so far behind.
Yeah, and the construction industry is so big. A lot of time people tell me, "Are you worried that competition is gonna come? Someone bigger is gonna come and take your market?" I say, "No way. This market is so huge and we're so little. There's so much space to grow." So to all the people that is thinking about it, I always tell them, "Man, this is an open door. We need you all aboard, because if we're going to change the industry, we need everybody. We need everybody thinking about steel and processing steel and all the process that involve in it."
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to make a little journey through Australia and New Zealand a month or so back, and my impression from being on social media and the people that I'm connected with, I was like, oh man, they're building everything with with light gauge steel in Australia, and I get out there and find that it's only 10% of the residential market. And I thought, if we can get 10% of the residential market in the States here,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have enough manufacturers to handle just that 10%. The sky is the limit. But most of the early adopters with the prefabrication and the roll forming systems had to learn everything themselves, and had to dig it out, figure it out. And there's a lot that don't feel like they want to share their knowledge. And I preach it often. I don't care who gets in. It's never going to be enough people in the industry. Once we start getting the developers and the builders to grasp, really embrace it, then it's going to bring about all those needs for manufacturers that we won't be able to do it all. You won't be able to do it all with 10 systems.
Yeah, that's correct, and that's correct. And people has to understand the advantage of the off-site construction. So we've been, teaching and talking to developers and builders all around, and they're starting to grasp it. So, for instance, this project that I'm talking to you about, that we have these 17 buildings to build, they all gonna be panelized and manufactured in our side. We're gonna take the panels with the finish to the side, and we're gonna slide that and connect it to the building on the side, already finished. So when we get there and we finish our job, that is gonna be a couple of weeks afterwards, you're gonna have a full building already finished and already closed, and people are gonna say, "Wow, what's happening here?" So the
they'll
people
drive by one week.
They get in line and say, "Come on, I want my building like that."
Exactly, and you bring up such a great point. In this very competitive world that we're in, those multifamily builders, those hospitality builders that are utilizing offsite construction and prefabricated cold form steel components are getting their buildings to market faster, and so their return on their investment starts 2, 3, 4, 5 months before the guy down the street that's been doing it the same way that they've always done it.
That's correct.
When you really build in everything, all the advantages, they're just massive for the developer. The developer reaps so many rewards by doing the prefabricated, the design-led system.
Well,
I'm going to jump.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
no
I'm sorry.
Don't worry. No, I was just going to tell you that during COVID, we had this customer. So one of my very first customers here in the U.S. when we got here was a project that was developed for a Disney project. So, and they needed this huge amount of units that they were going to build. So, but COVID hits, right? So they were saying, "Oh, what are we going to do? Whatever." I said, "I'm going to keep manufacturing." And they were saying, "But we cannot put people on the side." I said, "Don't worry, I'll put everything on the side. So when you get your people, you're just going to start putting things together, but you're going to have everything there." So to make you a long story short, in a span of less than 7 months, we put inside 7,000 trusses, all the floor systems of all the units. And the guys were like, "How do you do this?" And I told them, "Well, using technology and being smart about it. That's it. The tools are there."
It sounds so. It's very complex, but it sounds so simple the way that you say it.
Yeah.
So can you go into one of the things I found very interesting is this system, MES system, that you developed. Can you go into it without showing exactly how the sausage is made and telling too much? But can you elaborate a little bit on that and what MES is?
Okay. Yeah. So when we started working for these big developers and companies that require that you have a quality system, and we went to be certified on the ICC. Getting the certification is the easy part. Then following through is the hard part. So when you try to MES system, let me start from that. It's a manufacturing execution system. So it's a system that tracks all your raw material and the transformation that goes through that material till the end product. So basically what we did is we have this system that when we purchase a steel, we log it into our system, and once that steel gets processed, let's say, even we assign that steel to a project, that steel gets attached to that project, and we create the history of that steel. Basically, every component that we manufacture, every piece of it, we know exactly from which coil came, which machine went through, which assembler did the frame or assembled the frame, in which package it went to the yard, in which truck went to the site, and how it was deployed on the site. And the system, what it does is tracks a certain QR code that we attach to our frames in every step of the process. So through that, we have been able to track performance, quality control, traceability of the material from the supplier to our customer, guarantees. So that's part of the key, because steel is gonna be is a material that is never gonna change. So it's gonna be always, when you install it, it's gonna always be there. But you have to keep the track and the history of it behind it, and that's what our system does.
Yeah, try to do that with a piece of wood.
Never.
I mean,
Never.
it's just, and to think that you can go to a building a project that's being in progress, and go to a specific framing member and say, where'd this come from?
Yeah.
And you can drill that all the way back to the master coil, to when it was received, where, everything that you've done with it is just amazing. And that data, keeping that data, makes you a better manufacturer.
Yeah, and the idea is that we can keep the quality always, because one thing that we have been always pushing is quality. One thing that we sell with our system is quality. When we speak with our developers, we guarantee that they're going to have level 5 in their finishes everywhere. I always tell them, even in the janitor's closet, you're going to have a level 5 finish building. You're not going to have any defects. And as it happens, if there is any defect in any component, we're going to know exactly what happened, when it happened, and how it happened, because we can track every single piece of that component to its origin, even to the assembler, of when it was shipped or was not. Sometimes happens when you have these big developments, and that was also one part of the reasons why we made it, is when you start shipping components and panels and stuff. We have been on sites where we have more than 1,000 components on site. So people call you, hey, we cannot find this panel or whatever, it was not delivered, or you said, come on. We know exactly when it was delivered, who received the panel, where it was placed, and everything. So we can answer to our customers, our clients, at any time during all the history of that construction, what happened with the material. And we keep that data for as long as it is needed. But we guarantee that if in the future there is any analysis that has to be made into the structure for whatever purpose, we can tell you exactly what happened, what the history behind it.
Yeah, that's excellent stuff. And getting kind of to that point about developers and being able to guarantee level 5 walls or surfaces at every location. Not only that, but because it's so design-led heavy, and there's so much work that's done before you ever start doing a thing out there. When your drawings and your shop drawings are coming out and saying that it's a 12-foot 5 and 7/16 from wall to wall, when it's installed, it's exactly that dimension.
That's correct.
And builders are not used to that. Cabinet guys, millwork guys, no, I'm not going to come out. I'm not going to order the millwork until the drywall's on, so I can come out and measure. No, they can do that from the day they get your drawings. They can order their material because it's exactly how it's going to show up.
And a funny part is that here in Florida, we still find a lot of buildings that are hybrid. So you either have CMU walls on your first story, or you have hot rolled steel and whatever. So you find it a lot. And the funny thing is that we had to learn how to adapt, to attach or build our components around buildings that are not perfect. So at this point, we have made panels that are retractable or extendable in height and in width. Just by moving a couple screws, you can expand or the height or the width of the panel, just to adapt to things that are not perfect. Because our panels are perfect, but we have found walls with, that are tilting 3 inches or 2 inches. You say, hey, how come you do this? But it is what it is. So
you have to innovate.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to innovate. You when you're utilizing masonry, stairwells, and elevator shafts for shear, and you're building an exact panel, and that shaft, that masonry stairwell is 4 stories high and is done before you ever start on the job. It's not going to be level from top to bottom. We all know that. So you've addressed some of those key points that people have to figure out.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of ways to do it, but yeah, it's using the things that you've learned make you much more valuable to a developer than even wood framers out there today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some more of the interesting things that I saw in reading some of the information that you furnished, you're really looking at purlins, bar joists, doing cold form steel bar joists. Years ago, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when there was such a tremendous lead time, and I've been out of it a bit, so it could still be very long lead times. People were kicking around, doing cold form steel bar joists. It didn't really take off here, but there's still some people working on it. What are you doing? Are you doing top chord bearing? Tell me a little bit about what you're finding with your CFS bar joists.
Well, first we find that in the market there is still long lead times. So
there is. Okay.
Still the need. Yes, there's still the need, and in this construction environment, you can never. There is never enough material. It's incredible. It's been since we left COVID. The supply chains have never repaired itself, let's say. And one of the things that we learned during that process is to stock up a lot of inventory, and because you never know what's going to happen. So we got a lot of people demanding and asking for joists or bar joists, stuff like that. So we start working on that. And yes, we do top core bearing joists, we do bottom core, we do all this style. And the prime thing that our customers are looking is delivery. When can you deliver them? And I always tell them, right away, man, no problem. Which one do you need? How many do you need? And we'll just manufacture. And the machines are fast, and we have this still on the inventory. So it's really fast, it's really picking up. Price-wise, it's very competitive. And in the end, it's just adapting the market and just letting people know that you have it, that it's available. Because in the end, that's what it is.
Yeah. Are you finding that you have to put doing it out of CFS? Are you having to make the spacing less? Or are you having to do it on 24-inch centers as opposed to a 36-inch center or something like that?
Yeah, no, we go 24/7. But even though, as we're a lighter material, we're using less steel. So basically, it's just readapting and also that's something, remember, that we have been thinking a lot and working a lot on how to use the seat stock and how to adapt it and how to use the machines to get the maximum, innovation from it. It's just because if you just get the machine will do whatever you tell them. But it's on you to design the product that you actually gonna need and that is gonna fit the market. So we have been working a lot on that, thinking how to process our material to actually make it a better product for the market. And that's how we have been doing it. And that's why it's working on that direction. It's the same with the metal buildings. We've been working with small metal buildings, but we've been getting very good when we're making portal frames and we're making buildings that people are saying, hey, but this is not a PEB. No, it's not. It's a cold form building, and we can deliver faster. So, and that's it.
Exactly. Boy, I'm so glad to hear you say it because that was one of my passions is taking over some of that PEB world. You can do the same things. We can do the same stuff in cold form steel, and people are amazed when they see it. And again, it's one of those things of just getting those people to embrace it, getting the developers and the builders to embrace it, to see it, to test it, to try it. It really takes somebody that's an innovator and that's kind of a risk taker, although it's not a risk at all.
No.
They feel like I don't want to be first or, whatever it is. But, man, it is such exciting stuff. How about floor panels and roof panels? And are you getting into floor cassettes? Are you finding success with that?
Yeah, so basically we have two FL650. So we have one that does the 10-inch panel, the stud, and the other one that does the 12-inch. So basically all the buildings, most of the buildings that we are designing, or even in our own developments, we are using floor panels and floor cassettes because there is no more optimal way to do it. We have our own construction company, we have our cranes. So when we get to the site and you start standing panels and you put the floor system in sections and people are starting to look that the section come already even with the subfloor decking already in place, people are getting, their hands on their head and say, what is this? What is happening? And you say, well, this is what's happening. The future is coming out and you're not on it. So you have to be a risk taker, and it's not, I don't see the cold form world as a risk. I see it as a safe bet because every time I get to a developer, they tell me, man, this is the best thing that has happened to us.
No, and it is. It really is. And I think the more and more people that get into it and see it, we're going to certainly see that tide change. What's something that I haven't asked you that you would like to make sure we talk about today?
I think that is the promotion, the industry itself. I think that one of the things that is key is I think the system has proven itself many times. I think that we are already in this stage where there is enough early adopters, and we just have to jump that chasm or that, we're at that point where it's so little effort just to take it, to the other level. And I think that the thing that we have to do is build a better industry, taking all people that is get into this business and taking all the associations that are in this business and getting them together. Start sitting people together because there are too many people working in the same direction, but they're not connected enough. And I think that's the main problem that is happening. And that's, from my part, I worked in the construction chamber back in the country. And tell you the truth, when you start uniting people behind an idea, that's something that is a snowball effect. And I think that's exactly what we're missing.
That's where the
right
power
now.
is. That is genuinely where the power is aligning people. That's why I think it's so important that the early adopters get with the new adopters and everybody supports, not necessarily, you've got to support each other, but you support the method. And everybody pushes the same message. I think it's so important, and the power in that to change people and to change the tide, I think, is just a massive opportunity. So would you say that light gauge framing, that cold form steel, that the future for it is bright?
Yes, brighter than the sun. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I would agree with you, and I think the growth, the major growth years are yet to come. I don't think we've even experienced the major growth years.
Yeah, well, we will see that. I'm as betting strong on that. So I think that we're gonna see it, yes, because I'm not. We are already seeing it in Florida, where one of the biggest changes here is insurance. The insurance cost is being increasing incredible. So every time we're talking with a developer, we're talking with a builder, and we get the insurance company in the conversation, and they start assessing the risk, and they're seeing what you bring to the table, those faces are changing. And I think that's for at least for Florida, that's one big thing that is happening. The insurance company that we're talking about, and we get them into the table, they're seeing the product and they're seeing no termites, no problem with hurricanes, completely engineered products, all the quality that it brings, non-combustible, durability. They're saying, hey, you're removing all my factors of risk. So yes, and that's making a change here, very important change. And every state, every city, every location is going to have their own thing. But in Florida, that is happening. And in Florida, I think that that's why the future here is pretty bright on the cold form steel.
Yeah, and I think it's the insurance piece is something that we haven't been pounded on the table hard enough about, because it's you and I, coming from maybe a subcontractor background, or being that subcontractor, that framing contractor, let's say, we're used to dealing with general contractors. And a general contractor looks at cold form steel as, oh, it's always going to be a little bit more. They're looking at it on a line item by line item basis, and they're saying, I just got this comparison bid, and lumber is at this, and steel is at that. And I always have to go back and say, okay, great, but what about the delta, the massive delta in builder's risk insurance?
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean? Oh, well, you need to have the owner developer reach out and you guys requote your this builder's risk insurance based on a non-combustible building.
Yeah.
Tell me how much money's in that. And you have to look at it from a pro forma basis, not a line item basis, because when you start adding up the fact that you can use less concrete, you can use less rebar, you can less waste, the number of dumpsters that you have to have removed and replaced on a job site. When you start taking all of those different things and the efficiencies that you're building into the system for everybody that comes after you, the things you're doing for all of the MEP contractors, it's they don't see it all. But when you take all that and put it in, buddy, it puts light gauge steel and prefabrication in a much different light, and actually puts us way ahead of the timber world.
Yes, definitely, Robert, definitely. And that's something that we have learned through the process, that it's hard to talk to subcontractors because they're doers. They're going to do whatever the plans say going to do, and they're going to find the way to do it the most economical way possible, and that's what they're looking for. So we have changed that talk. We have been talking with developers and owners because they are the ones that are, paying the bill. They are the ones that are putting the risk. They are the ones that are getting the land and saying, a dream come true, and putting all the effort to make projects come true. And it's not to talk, I'm not talking down about the subcontractors. I'm talking about the interest of each part, of each component in one project. And the owners, they see it fast. When you start talking to them and you start showing them the numbers and the technology and the examples of it, they usually understand it pretty fast. So that's where our effort has to go, to developers and builders. That's where we have to go.
Yeah, amen. Well, David, it's been fantastic to finally meet you and get to chat with you. I'm looking forward to having you on again sometime soon.
Sure.
And I'm hoping to make a journey through Florida and actually do some of this in person. And it'll be great to chat more. So How can people get a hold of you if they want to reach out and get in touch with you?
Okay, you can find me through orlandosteelframing.com, or you can find me through LinkedIn also as David Monte, Orlando Steel Framing. And we're here, Orlando, Sanford. So we're more than happy to receive you here. Please feel free to visit. Robert, we will take you all around and see our facilities. I think you're going to be very impressed. And we're going to be more than happy to have you here.
Yeah, well, man, I appreciate that. Until next time, what I always say is we've all built it the old way. Now let's go build it better.
Amen.
Thanks for joining us, David.